Good morning, and welcome to our Unitarian Universalist Cooperative Summer Worship Series for 2020. I'm Kendall Gibbons, Senior Minister at the All Souls UU Church in Kansas City, Missouri. When our congregations pivoted suddenly to online worship back in March, in response to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, we all had to invent new formats and adapt to new technologies instantly. Many of our ministers and tech staff and volunteers rose to the occasion with great creativity and skill. Now, during our traditional summer break and study time, we take this opportunity to share our discoveries and learn from each other through a series of virtual visits to Sunday services with a cluster of our neighbor congregations. Through the gift of online worship, you will hear from some of our newest up-and-coming young preachers and some of our wisest senior colleagues. You will experience how a variety of congregations have embraced the challenges of these new formats. And our sound, video, and streaming tech folks will enjoy a little well-deserved time off. Look for our separate community online gatherings to resume in September. We hope that today's message will rouse your spirit and resonate with your soul.
Good morning. I'm Matthew Johnson, Senior Minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rockford, Illinois. Whoever you are, wherever you are, and whenever you are, welcome. Whether you are grieving, sad, hopeful, tired, persistent, curious, wondering, holding on, thriving, or all of the above, welcome. We're coming to you from the sanctuary at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rockford, Illinois. With me today is Tim Anderson, my colleague in worship and the music director at the church, and Lindsay Dunn, our director of religious education, who's off screen to my right at the moment, and Autumn Powell, our office manager in the back of the hall running the technology for us. Our worship associate, Con Elke, has pre-recorded their testimony, which you'll hear later in the service. This is our usual liturgy of how we worship together in word and music, speech and silence, in love and care for you all, who might be watching and seeking and loving. So I will ring the bell, and we will worship together. We'll begin with singing this morning. Tim will play and sing. We're going to sing the chorus and the first verse of There Is a Balm in Gilead, an African-American spiritual about the potential of God's healing when the world is off balance and not well and unjust, and how much power there is in that hope. There is a balm in Gilead, and I invite you to sing along.
Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
We're going to keep singing this morning. We have been learning the hymn Loosen, Loosen by Allie Halpert this month, and we'll put the words up on the screen. Tim will sing the first part, Loosen, Loosen part 3 times, and you're invited to sing along with that part, or if you've learned the other part, then you may sing that part as well and make some harmony in your own home.
Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Hey, I'm so glad you are here for worship with us. If this is your first time worshiping with us, we are happy to have you joining us online, and take a moment to like our Facebook page and way to stay in touch, and click on newsletter sign up or fill out the visitor form which Chris is posting to the feed at the moment. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our faith, a beacon of truth, a fire for justice, and a warmth for the soul. As Lindsay lights our chalice here at the church, we invite you to speak together the covenant of our church. Love is the spirit of this church, and reason is its guide. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, and to serve human need. This is our covenant. Now we'll sing together our chalice response song.
May love shine forth through us today. May light of reason guide our way. May beauty, truth, and joy become a flame that burns in everyone.
We gather for worship. I invite you to breathe, Settle in where you are. Notice what's near you. A loved one, a bird out the window, a cat in your lap, a cup of coffee or tea. Maybe there's a plant in the corner. There are things, mementos and objects. Yourself. You, your fingers, your toes, your breath. Breathe. Notice. Notice how you feel, what you're experiencing and thinking. Pay attention. See the world around you. Pay attention. Notice the way that your chest rises and falls with your breath. The way the blood moves through your body. The way your thoughts quicken, come and go, and persist. Notice. Life connects you to all that is, seen and unseen, through the earth, through the air. Notice these invisible strands of being which tie us together. Notice. In that noticing, open your heart to compassion and kindness for yourself, for one other, for one other, for one other, for the whole world, for us all. Let us worship together.
May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here at the Unitarian Universalist Church. I think we don't have a battery Our story this morning is The Heart and the Bottle by Oliver Jeffers. Once there was a girl, much like any other, whose head was filled with all the curiosities of the world, with thoughts of the stars, with wonder at the sea. She took delight in finding new things. Until the day she found an empty chair. Feeling unsure, the girl thought the best thing was to put her heart in a safe place, just for the time being. So she put it in a bottle and hung it around her neck, and that seemed to fix things at first. Although, in truth, nothing was the same. She forgot about the stars and stopped taking notice of the sea. She was no longer filled with all the curiosities of the world and didn't take much notice of anything, other than how heavy and awkward the bottle had become. But at least her heart was safe. It might never have occurred to the girl what to do had she not met someone smaller and still curious about the world. There was a time when the girl would have known how to answer her, but not now, not without her heart. And it was right at that moment she decided to get it back out of the bottle. But she didn't know how. She couldn't remember. And nothing seemed to work. The bottle couldn't be broken. It just bounced and rolled right down to the sea. But there it occurred to someone smaller and still curious about the world that she might know a way. And it just so happened she did. The heart was put back where it came from. And the chair wasn't so empty anymore. But the bottle was.
We have some things coming up in the life of the church to let you know about. We are doing a wonderful Wednesday each week at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And the next 2 Wednesdays, our member Carol Hunter is going to do an adaptation of a class she's offered at the Center for Learning and Retirement on 4-season gardening. If you're thinking, gosh, if I'm going to be at home, I want to dig into this garden and get it to work all year round, this is the class for you. So there'll be information in the newsletter Tuesday, 7 o'clock, Wednesday, the next 2 weeks on that. The annual meeting is coming up on June 7th after church on Zoom, and instructions will come about that as well and how you can participate, but be sure to block off some time to stay with us after worship for that meeting. Please do check in with each other. If you're thinking of someone you usually see at coffee hour or around church, or someone you've been wondering how they are, call them up, send a note, reach out to one another. Please reach out to me if you need anything. If you're a member of the church, or you got laid off or lost tip or gig income or struggling, need support in any way, let me know. Folks have been generous with their contributions to our discretionary fund, but not with their asks. So if you have an ask, let me know. We can help you out. We are working from home mostly still, but we are available by email and phone for you. Every week we take up an offering to support the work of justice and mercy in the world. 80% of what we collect today will go to Circle of Change. This is an organization that works with veterans and also to connect them with dogs, which is lovely, and they work with each other to support each other's mutual healing. And it's a great organization. If you want to offer your support, you can select Share the Plate. You can give online by texting the number on the screen or by going to urockford.org/donate. Select Share the Plate to give to Circle of Change this morning. If you're in the habit of making your gifts on Sunday when you are present, you can make that gift online or send a check into the church by mail. Please do help us keep our staff and our operations funded, even though we are not in person together. The offering will now be given and received.
When I walked into the office on the morning of September 11th, 2001, there were crowds of colleagues lined up all along the windows, and I was greeted by Daniel. "Did you hear what happened?" he said. And I had just been on the train, and I had no clue. And as I looked out of our 12th floor office window directly into the skyline of New York City, I could see the smoke pluming from the towers in plain sight. I remember looking up every so often in between emailing my family and talking with coworkers. Looking up 1 minute, the towers were there. I looked up again and they were gone. Once the announcement was made that they were excusing everyone from work, I headed for the train. And I don't remember it being particularly crowded for some reason, but after about 20-25 minutes of what normally would be a 50-minute train ride, the conductor announced that all transportation into the city was stopping and that the next stop would be the last. So about 3 other people in the same predicament and I started talking, like, I need to get back to the city. Where are you gonna go? Where are you, let's figure it out. So we started by walking. And somehow myself and the others encountered a guy with a minivan who offered to drive us as far as he could for $20 a piece. I don't remember how long or how far he drove us exactly, but eventually he told us to get out and he was done and we were back on our feet walking. We crossed what I think was the Harlem River into Manhattan on foot, and at some point my companions and I kind of split up and went our separate ways, and I amazingly somehow found a cab back to my apartment in Harlem. On this day, we saw the worst of humanity as nearly 3,000 lives were lost. However, at the same time, I do believe we saw the very best of humanity. The city came together, the nation came together, and people from all around the world mourned, helping to create a space where healing might begin. I didn't know anyone that died in the attacks of 9/11, but it's been nearly 3 years since my dad passed away. And in that time, I think my definition of what it means to heal has changed. I've come to realize it's not so much about becoming whole again as it is more so about learning to live or learning to come to grips with being less than whole. When I walked
Thank you, Con. We'll talk about healing this morning and what it means to accept the wounds we have as part of who we are. And there's an old American folk tune, folk song, This Old World, which speaks to what it means to love one another in our wounds. And we'll put the words up on the screen. Tim will play and sing, and we invite you to sing along.
This old world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. If you love your neighbor truly, love will come to you the more. We're all children of one family, we're all brothers, sisters too. If you cherish one another, love and friendship come to you. This old world can be a garden full of fragrance, full of grace. If we love our neighbors truly, we must meet them face to face. It is said now, love thy neighbor, and we know well that is true. This blossom of human labor, true for me as well as you.
Thank you, Tim. I want to share two readings with you this morning, two of my very favorite poems, and I think I love them both because they speak to this question of what it means to heal with wisdom. The first is a poem by Naomi Shihab Nye entitled Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore, only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze ahead, to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. The second reading is a poem by Wendell Berry entitled The Sycamore. In the place that is my own place, whose earth I am shaped in and must bear, there is an old tree growing, a great sycamore that is a wondrous healer of itself. Fences have been tied to it, nails driven into it, hacks and whittles cut in it. The lightning has burned it. There is no year it has flourished in that has not harmed it. There is a hollow in it that is its death, though its living brims whitely at the lip of the darkness and flows outward. Over all its scars has come the seamless white of the bark. It bears the gnarls of its history healed over. It has risen to a strange perfection in the warp and bending of its long growth. It has gathered all accidents into its purpose. It has become the intention and radiance of its dark fate. It is a fact, sublime, mystical, and unassailable. In all the country, there is no other like it. I recognize in it a principle, an indwelling, the same as itself and greater, that I would be ruled by. I see that it stands in its place and feeds upon it, and is fed upon, and is native and maker. Thus ends the readings. I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. Again, to breathe. To touch the sorrow. To know the sorrow deep, so that you might know the kindness deep. To know that you are wounded and healing, fragile and strong, Spirit of life and love, wondrous power of many names, be with us in our doubt and our confusion and in our sorrow, in our grief. Be with us in our lying down and our rising up, in our compassion and our service and our love. Be with us when we need to rest, and be with us when it is time to do. Be with those who mourn around the world today, who mourn the loss of those they love because of violence, cruelty, want. Be with us all as we dig deep into our sorrow and our kindness to build better a world of justice and mercy for all. Amen. Blessing. God of our ancestors, this is a prayer for all those who are ill. May they be held in compassion. May they be renewed in spirit and in body. A prayer for healing. A prayer for renewal. A prayer for the body and the spirit. Today, we're talking about healing, about a renewal of the spirit and the body. our own individual body, our own spirit, and ours together. Our collective body, our collective spirit, our faith, Unitarian Universalism, our nation, our whole world. For we are not well. We are troubled. We grieve, we struggle, and we come needing renewal. What does renewal look like? How do we heal from trauma, from individual and collective trauma? Where do we go from here? How do we gain that strange perfection, our wounds healed over, gather our accidents into our purpose, stronger and more just, more resilient than we have been? I am on a lot of Zoom calls with faith leaders and civic leaders, and I keep hearing phrases like, we have to build better than we were. When we talk about the new normal we're headed toward rather than the old normal of where we were. We say the inequities, the failures of our global society have been hyper-illuminated, and now we must do something. That's a good phrase, hyper-illuminated. That's a true phrase. The patient, all of us, we have been ill with greed and inequality, with environmental collapse and pollution, ill with hopelessness and rage for a long time. But now these underlying conditions have been hyper-illuminated. So how do we heal? How do we heal ourselves and our world in body and in spirit? A metaphor. I love maps. I have old maps in my house and in my office. Maps are not the territory, but they give a suggestion of where we go from here, what the road looks like, what to pack, where to turn, how long it might take. This journey of healing is not a stroll around the block. We need to pack and know our route, and we need to know that this will take time. Plenty of time. The road to healing is acknowledging our tragedy and taking the time it takes. Tragedy plus time. It was Steve Allen, the comedian and inventor of the late-night talk show, who said that the formula for comedy was tragedy plus time. Makes me think of a line from the Indigo Girls, if you can't laugh at yourself, you'll cry your eyes out. Now, I am the last person to say that we should not experience grief, that we don't sometimes need to cry our eyes out. But laughter is important too, and joy is important too. Sorrow and joy are not opposites, but connected. The story today illustrates this perfectly. She protects her heart from sorrow by putting it in a glass jar. But then she can't get it out. She can't feel joy or new beginnings either. You can't get stuck in grief, but if we don't grieve, if we don't cry our eyes out, we will not heal from trauma and tragedy. On the map, this is the first stop on the journey of healing. Mourn the losses. Weep. Express your sorrow. In our collective grief, we must mourn. And this feels like it's missing, isn't it? The New York Times puts the names of 1% of those who have died on the front, and we weep because we have not mourned. One of the historic jobs of the President of the United States is mourner-in-chief. It's a job that Bill Clinton did after Oklahoma City, and were we not blessed by the tears that Barack Obama shed at Mother Emanuel Church? And now, almost nothing. So many dead, so many precious, beautiful lives lost. And if we want to heal in body and in soul, we have to grieve these losses. Name them. Know them. Weep for them. We can't put our heart in jars. On the map, this is the first way station, grief. And we must go there and do what must be done there. There's a path from that place, swings off up into the mountains. It circles around endlessly up there with destinations like denial, refusal to face facts, conspiracy thinking, magical thinking, and the like. We can't go that way. Some are. Some are up there going round and round, but let's not. Let's not go that way, because the guides, the ancient and modern guides, those who have made this trip, they warn us, up that way leads nothing good. No healing in body and soul. You have to come down out of those mountains. If you're up there, come down out of those mountains and rejoin the journey. Get your heart out of the jar. What's next? Time. Time and practice. Things to do. New rituals and old ones. A healing of spirit and body, as the prayer calls for, requires care for both spirit and body. What does that look like? I've been fascinated and inspired by the research done by trauma specialists about how people heal from trauma. Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score, is a particularly good one on this, but now there are so many resources about trauma and trauma healing. Some of you are fans of the work of Brené Brown, who's written about how shame, the fact that we have experienced trauma, makes us feel shame, which keeps us from the courage that we need to heal and to open our heart, to take our heart out of the jar. But actually, that courage is essential to finding a life of meaning. What's most powerful for me is hearing the stories of trauma survivors themselves. Survivors of violence, neglect, oppression, both individuals and whole communities, particularly including the descendants of enslaved Africans, indigenous people, and people who've survived domestic violence. The research and the stories tell us some of the next steps on the journey toward healing. One of those places that the road goes to in that next part is a place we might call loving the body. There's a whole part of the map of healing called loving the body, your body. Exercise, especially things that require balance, like yoga or dance and so forth, is very powerful in healing from tragedy. The research about this is remarkable. Moving gently and with love through the world. Eating things that honestly feel good to you. This really helps. Eat well, move well, sleep well. Those things cannot be underestimated when it comes to healing from trauma, because we are bodies, not just minds. Part of loving your body is touch. And that's hard now for many folks. When some are separated from their friends who hug, we don't get to hold hands at church together. People are apart from their massage therapist or their grandchildren. And some of you may be in places where getting healthy, loving touch is a real challenge. But as we heal, as we rebuild, renew, especially when our bodies are starved for touch, finding ways to get and give good, healthy, consensual touch will be so important. It is an essential part of healing of body and soul. Next to the area loving your body on the map is a whole area called be creative. On some of the old maps, the faded ones, it's just called have fun. Some of the professional descendants of the aforementioned Steve Allen, the late-night host, have been giving this to us to see, getting the band to make music from their homes with whatever they happen to have on hand, surprising Zoom calls to high school graduates, laughter and joy, and sharing some good news. They know that tragedy plus time can get you to comedy and back to life. But you don't have to watch others be creative and just sit there. What's your own fun to have, to make, art to create, a garden to tend and watch the flowers bloom? This isn't about distracting yourself. When we're creative and joyful, we actually knit the torn parts of our brain back together. Or to put it another way, creativity and joy and art and fun reminds us and recreates in us a fuller humanity, restores our soul to its larger and truer nature. We are not just our pain. We are also our joy. We are our tears, but we are also our laughter. In this whole area of the map, next to love your body and be creative, is a beautiful but slightly dangerous area called kindness. Kindness. It's dangerous because if we leap to this place without thoughtfulness or intentionality, we risk causing more harm. We need to process our stuff. But it's also very, very clear that you cannot heal from tragedy as an individual, and we absolutely cannot heal as a society without making justice, showing mercy, and living with kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness, the Buddhist mantra. May we all be filled with loving kindness. And as Naomi Shihab Nye writes so beautifully, to know what kindness really is, you have to lose things. You have to know that you have lost things, to know that sorrow is real. And this collective humanity, this friend or shadow that goes with us, fills our hearts and motivates our actions. The journey to healing our collective trauma must include the work of loving kindness, of changed hearts and a changed world. In honor of our losses, as a way to make meaning, we must build a better world. Filled with the spirit of kindness, we might work to improve public health or childcare systems, devote ourselves to electing better leaders, or to caring for the sick. We might focus on vibrant neighborhoods or on serving our congregation, who we value in a whole new way. Or it may just be how we carry ourselves in the world, with more compassion, more mercy, more sweetness, more humility. This old world, they say, is full of sorrow. If you love your neighbor, love will come to you. To all of us, the more. The world can be a garden full of grace if we love one another with genuine kindness. On the map, the road that connects these areas, love your body, be creative, loving kindness, the road that connects these areas is called spiritual healing. There is a balm in Gilead, a source of hope. That song with which we began this morning is a powerful African-American spiritual reminder that the holy power of God would heal you, would roll down like waters and bring justice and a new world. When we are sinking down, love can come to us. Helps if we get our hearts out of our jars, prepare ourselves, serve that spirit of love. We call the road spiritual healing because taking this road invites us to recall that we are loved, that we are part of this great universe, that we are worthy and sacred. Each theology, each faith names this in a different way. A child of God, filled with Buddha nature, stardust, the beloved of the ancestors, a member of the human family, part of the circle of life. Call it what you will, name it what you must, but remember that your healing is important, that you are worthy of healing, that you can heal. We all are, everyone. We collectively are worthy of healing. I refuse to give in to the despair and the nihilism that says there's nothing we can do, that humans are the real virus, that we should give up on a better world. That is not my faith. That is not our faith. We are called to be a people of hope, but let us make it a real hope, a deep hope, a hope born of grief and love and art and mercy. A hope that together we can do better, that we can clean off the muck and the dust and, with friends gathered round, meet the day we are given. Where does the road go after that? After loving the body and making art and showing kindness and doing justice, where does the road of healing go next? Some maps say there be dragons there. But that's only because dragons are powerful and fierce. After the healing comes the power of an integrated life, the power to help others, the power of love and justice, the power and the wisdom of one who knows, the strange perfection, scars healed over, the sense of being rooted, of being maker and native, the power of a real life. That's what the map looks like, and we have a long way to go. There's no shortcut, no tesseract, no underground bullet train, no snake oil miracle cure. It takes time. We must pack our supplies, water and food, good shoes, patience, curiosity, an open mind and heart, and set out. Take the time to mourn and avoid the danger of the mountains. Travel the road of spiritual healing. Spend the time. Claim our power. That's what the future looks like. What is before us, what we can do, what we must do, so that with wondrous love, we can make anew the world we long for. It will take time. Let us begin today. Let us sing together, What Wondrous Love. Tim will play and sing. We invite you to sing along at home.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, sorrow's ground. Friends to me gathered round, O my soul, O my soul. Friends to me gathered round, O my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end I will sing.
Here at the sanctuary, we will extinguish our chalice. We invite you to do the same at home if you lit one at home, but we extinguish not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These things we carry with us until we are together again. The words of our benediction from the Reverend Frederick Gillis. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. We hope you'll join the virtual coffee hour in a few minutes. It'd be lovely to see your faces. We'll sing together our sung blessing.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go our way in peace, wander as we may. Blessed is the path we take, may love guide us on our way.
Go in peace.